I never believed in ghosts or the supernatural. That is, until the night I encountered something that shattered my skepticism forever. It was a typical evening, and I was home alone, enjoying a quiet night in. I had just finished watching a movie when I heard a creaking noise coming from upstairs. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I told myself it was just the house settling, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. I mustered up the courage to investigate, creeping up the stairs slowly, trying to make as little noise as possible. As I reached the top of the stairs, I saw it, a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway, its back to me. My blood ran cold and I felt a chill run down my spine. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I watched in horror as the figure turned slowly, revealing a face shrouded in darkness. It was a face I recognized, but it was twisted, contorted into a grotesque mask of pain and suffering. It was my own face, staring back at me with empty, lifeless eyes. I stumbled backward, trying to escape, but the figure advanced towards me, its movements slow and deliberate. I felt trapped, cornered by this malevolent presence. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, paralyzed with fear. The figure drew closer, its shadowy form reaching out towards me. I closed my eyes, bracing myself for the inevitable. But instead of feeling a cold, clammy hand on my skin, I felt a warm, comforting embrace. I opened my eyes to find myself standing alone in the hallway, the figure gone without a trace. I shook my head, convinced it was just a hallucination brought on by fear. But as I turned to go back downstairs, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I gasped in horror as I saw my reflection, but it was not my own face staring back at me. It was the face of the figure, twisted and contorted in agony. I screamed, shattering the silence of the night. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The figure was gone, and I was left alone in the hallway, shaken but alive. I stumbled back to my room, my mind reeling from what I had just experienced. I never spoke of that night to anyone, fearing they would think me mad. But deep down, I knew the truth. There are things in this world that defy explanation, things that lurk in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. And though I try to convince myself otherwise, I know that the figure in the mirror was not a hallucination or a trick of the light. It was a glimpse into a world beyond our own, a world inhabited by the restless spirits of the dead. I may never fully understand what happened that night, but one thing is certain. I will never look at my reflection in the same way again. Days passed, and I tried to put the incident behind me, chalking it up to an overactive imagination. But the memory lingered, haunting me like a ghostly presence. I found myself avoiding mirrors, afraid of what I might see lurking within. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I glanced nervously at the mirror, half expecting to see the twisted visage of the figure staring back at me. But the mirror was empty, reflecting only the dimly lit room behind me. I sighed in relief, chiding myself for being so paranoid. I turned away from the mirror and climbed into bed, hoping to put the restless thoughts to rest. But as I closed my eyes, I heard a faint whispering, like a soft breeze rustling through the leaves. I opened my eyes and listened, trying to make out the words. It was a voice, faint and distant, but unmistakably human. It seemed to be coming from the mirror, a ghostly echo from the other side. I approached the mirror cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. I placed my hand against the cool surface, feeling a strange, tingling sensation. The whispering grew louder, more insistent, but still just beyond comprehension. I leaned closer, my breath fogging up the glass. And then, as if by magic, the whispers coalesced into words. "Help me," the voice pleaded. "Please, help me." I recoiled in shock, stumbling backward. The voice was coming from the mirror, from the other side. I stared at my reflection, but it was no longer my own face staring back at me. It was the face of a woman, her features twisted in agony. I reached out tentatively, touching the glass where her hand pressed against mine. Her eyes widened in recognition, and she mouthed the words again. "Help me." I knew then that I was not alone, that there was another trapped on the other side of the mirror. I had to help her, to free her from whatever cursed existence she was trapped in. I searched frantically for a way to break the mirror, to shatter the barrier between us. But no matter how hard I tried, the glass remained unbroken, unyielding. The woman's pleading eyes bore into mine, her silent screams echoing in my mind. I fell to my knees, tears streaming down my face. I was powerless to help her, trapped in my own world of mirrors and shadows. And as I watched, helpless, the woman's form began to fade, her voice growing fainter and fainter until it was nothing but a whisper on the wind. I was left alone once more, staring at my own reflection in the mirror, but it was no longer a source of fear or uncertainty. It was a reminder of the fragile boundary between our world and the next, a boundary that could be crossed by those who dared to look too deeply into the shadows. I never forgot the woman in the mirror, the one who reached out to me from beyond. And though I may never know her name or her story, I will always carry her with me, a reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead.